topic. All right, so for those of you who don't know, I also do a podcast called Shooting the Sith. We're actually going to be changing where the Shooting the Sith stuff is all going to be on the podcast feed for Bridging the Geekdoms, probably starting this week. I'm going to get rid of that podcast feed and just have it all one place. It won't change anything on YouTube. You'll still be able to find everything on YouTube under Bridging the Geekdoms as you have in the past. But we are going to talk about Star Wars today. It's been a while since we've sat down and talked Star Wars. I'm kind of excited about this because I love Star Wars. So what is next for the Star Wars saga? Now, May the 4th is just a couple weeks away. And again, I just thought it'd be a good idea to kind of sit down and take a look at what's coming, because we haven't had it. We've had the TV shows, but we don't have the hype that we used to have when a movie was coming out. And that always is what would get people hyped. And right now, Lucasfilm does have 3 dates set aside for Star Wars films: December 22nd, 2023, December 19th, 2025, and December 17th, 2027. So over the next 5 years, there's 3 dates for 3 films to come out, which is exciting. But what could they be? That's kind of where we're at here. I mean, if you really want to think about it, the one that is the oldest that was announced that you would think would be next is Rian Johnson's trilogy that he was going to create. Now, again, what I want to tell people is, whether his trilogy happens or not, a lot of people were upset because they didn't like The Last Jedi. I'm somebody who I'm not a fan of The Last Jedi.
Wow,
but when it comes down to it, I think Rian Johnson, if you give him, he's a great writer, and if you give him the freedom of not being not continuing a story, a beloved story, if he's creating his own thing, I think it could be fantastic. And he's also not directing every single one. I think he was supposed to, if I remember from the announcement, I think it was that he was going to direct the first one and then get people to direct the second and third film of the trilogy. About 2 years ago, I heard that it was still on track to be made. But at this point, I have no idea, because that was 2 years ago. So I have no idea.
So I'm actually on the opposite end of you. I actually really enjoyed The Last Jedi. I actually thought it was the most, what's the word for it? The most interesting one out of the, I guess, newer trilogy that came out. I thought he took risk. I thought the risk kind of paid off. I think the problem with the Disney trilogy is that, as it's been said before, each movie contradicts itself, or it contradicts its predecessor in a way. So that's something that, obviously doesn't really seem like Disney, Lucasfilm had a plan for this trilogy. So I'm actually I actually take the time period that's passed in between The Rise of Skywalker and what it looks like the next trilogy is going to be, or the next set of films that will be released, as kind of a positive thing. Maybe they're really trying to iron out the finer details and try to make this as successful as the Marvel Cinematic Universe and have a more set plan moving forward. So I kind of take the time period that's passed as a positive sign rather than negative sign. Obviously, as a Star Wars fan, I want things to be coming out left, right, left, right, left, right. But when it comes to their cinematic releases, I think they need to take their time with it, because it's pretty obvious that there was not a set plan in place for 7, 8, 9. And I just think that having the director of at least my favorite movie out of the newer trilogy kind of overseeing the, I guess, next set of films. I can't even tell you if it's going to be a trilogy, but I think it's something that's interesting. I think maybe delving into a different time period, maybe fast forwarding a long time from the ending of episode 9, or even going back to even before episode 1, is something that could be interesting. But I'm not too entirely sure if there's been rumors of what Johnson's trilogy was supposed to be about. We have a bunch of other projects that were announced that we kind of haven't really gotten followed up on, that we will obviously delve into. But I think the idea of Johnson overseeing a trilogy is not obviously not what fans want to hear, because The Last Jedi seemed like it was the most divisive one out of all of them. But I don't know. I'm actually kind of excited, to be honest with you. But obviously, not only Johnson's trilogy has been announced, but we've got a whole bunch of other projects that have been announced that, while they're interesting and curious, we haven't really gotten a follow up with that. And I think, like I said, it kind of leads into the credence of what I said before, where it's like, listen, we tried to pump out movies every 2-3 years and it just didn't work. So let's take our time. Let's see what we can do. Obviously, I think they're going to kind of take a break from the main continuity of like the episodes that we've been accustomed to. That's just a guess on my end. I'm not reporting any official news, but I think focusing on different corners of the universe and then finding a way to come back to the main episodic timeline is something that would behoove them to do. But obviously they're a money-making machine and they just want to keep making episodes. And I'm sure that they're looking forward to episode 10, 11, and 12. So
yeah,
just got to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong. I have this weird relationship with The Last Jedi. To me, out of the sequel trilogy, it is the most Star Wars film that we got in the sequel trilogy, because I think it really understands Star Wars better than The Force Awakens or The Rise of Skywalker did. However,
which I felt like lent a lot of its story more towards nostalgia rather than just introducing newer nuances in terms of story. Which obviously every movie introduced something new, but I felt like 7 and 9 leaned more towards the history of Star Wars rather than what I thought 8 did, which was kind of do its own thing in a way, you know?
Yeah. Not that I didn't mind that. My problem is with that movie is there's no progression with the characters. They are in the same exact place at the end of the movie that they were
began.
At the beginning of the movie. And to me, that's an issue. I also I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, you shouldn't have killed Luke. Spoilers, you shouldn't have killed Luke. But after what happened with Carrie Fisher, they had an entire year to reformat the story. And they had a really good opportunity to have Leia killed off by her son early in that film. And it could have added an extra layer to Kylo Ren's
story and just overall character arc. Yep.
And it could have been a very simple thing. Like they could have just gotten Mark Hamill and said, okay, we're not going to have you die here. So you're going to stay alive. But we're going to kill Carrie Fisher's character Leia off. And all they would need to do is they wouldn't have to do too. Like I've watched that movie so many times that they could have gotten another character to fill in for Leia after that moment, because she's only in like 5-6 minutes of the movie after that point. So it wouldn't have been a lot to do. And I think that's what they should have done, because then it would have given a little bit more to J.J. Abrams come episode 9, or even maybe we would have then gotten Colin Trevorrow's script and he would have directed it, because he wouldn't have had to find a way to write around Carrie Fisher being dead. And that was, rumor has it, that's what caused the issue and why he left and they brought JJ back. So it just, there's behind the scenes stuff, in front of the scenes stuff. They could have done better.
I think with the redemption arc that we see Kylo Ren go on towards the latter half of the film, I think killing Leia might have been something that just fans could not get behind. And even with his turn, and yeah, exactly. Yep. I think personally, they made a lot of mistakes in Rise of Skywalker, and that's pretty obvious. But I think that's something that he probably wouldn't have been able to get over with the fans with. And personally, I love Kylo Ren as a villain. His villainous moments, I feel like, are some of the more well-acted scenes, and also some of the more highlightable parts of those movies. But they went the direction that they went in, and we're here now with what happened, and we're just gonna have to find a way to continue the story as it goes along. But I think killing Leia in that first scene would have cemented him as the villain of this trilogy, and maybe even, you know, I think it would have been hard for him to overshadow Palpatine, but obviously definitely would have put him in the upper echelon of Star Wars villains, since we've gotten a bunch of them over the course of this 40-year, 50-year history. And I think it was a missed opportunity. Obviously, I think they played it extremely safe in that movie. They introduced interesting concepts with, you know, Chewbacca, with the original thought that Chewbacca was gone, and then 5 minutes later, psych, he's there. And I think they just played it way too safe.
That was another problem I had with The Last Jedi, but we'll get into that. We'll maybe do an episode down the line here where we just talk, we go back and forth on the sequel trilogy. I did it with a couple of buddies about a year and a half ago, so I'd love to go back to it with somebody else here. But let's keep moving on here for what else is coming out, because we could still get the Rian Johnson stuff, probably not, but we still could. But the only other one that was really being pushed and announced was Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron. And that was announced way back in 2020, December of 2020. It was to introduce a new generation of fighter pilots, and it was supposed to be set after Episode 9. Then we had that whole thing where there was a discussion that she was backing out, that there were some disagreements with her and Lucasfilm. But then, or scheduling conflicts, that's what it was. It was their scheduling conflicts, but then she dropped Cleopatra, which she was supposed to be doing with Gal Gadot, which she's actually, I think Gal Gadot is doing now. And she dropped that. So that's kind of opened up her schedule. But I've also heard that she's working on Wonder Woman 3 right now, like the script. So not really sure what she's doing at this point, but it's interesting to, like, could this be the next one? Could this be the one that we get next December?
I think it's a fascinating premise, Rogue Squadron, honestly. I think given right direction, right writing, the correct writing, and good cinematography is something that could lean extremely well into that movie. But Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy like a very specific image for their films, and that is not going to attract a lot of name. I mean, Star Wars brand will always attract name brand directors, but in the current world that we live in today, I do believe that meddling and studio meddling and things like that turns off directors nowadays. You know, it's no longer, I want to direct a Star Wars film no matter what. It's, no, I want to have my vision for it. I will obviously tweak it to what Lucasfilm wants, but not completely overhaul my original ideas. And Patty Jenkins, as we know, is one of those directors that will refuse to be, for lack of a better term, stepped on and just being told 100% this is what's going to happen, just do it, or we're not going to move forward with your vision. And, I respect Patty Jenkins for it. Given the way Wonder Woman 1984 unfolded, I definitely think her attention should fully be on Wonder Woman 3, because we definitely could use a little bit of a redemption arc on that one. I was looking forward to it when it was first announced, but now hearing that meddling kind of made her backtrack a little bit, not surprising, especially with her history with Warner Bros. Over there, or the formerly known Warner Bros. So I don't really blame her, but I hope it's a project that does see its full potential, because I do think it's an interesting premise and something that's a little different than we've been given before in the past. So I hope it does get made, but like with most of these projects, it's a wait and see approach, because we just have no idea, honestly.
Yeah, I think the next one that we could get that isn't Patty Jenkins is Taika Waititi Star Wars movie. I believe he was actually announced either right before or right after Patty Jenkins was announced to be doing a film, and nothing is really known about it except that Christy Wilson Cairns, who wrote Last Night in Soho for Edgar Wright, she's going to be co-writing this film. I think it's interesting. I know I sat there and said, "Oh, I don't like his Thor." I think, let me say first off, what was the movie? The Nazi one, the kids Nazi Jojo Rabbit.
Yep.
That movie was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It had heart, it was funny, and it was heartbreaking.
Yep.
It was so good. If he can bring that to the Star Wars universe, the franchise, bring it on, man. Bring it on.
He has quite an expansive talent for writing and directing, and given the right material, given the right content to write about, I think it could work. Obviously, I think with Thor Ragnarok, we can kind of see that, he is very in tune with, I guess, the cosmos of space and stuff. So it will obviously another concern of, not a concern of mine, but guarantee that I would guarantee if this film ever gets officially announced is that it will look beautiful for sure. It's just a matter of what the story is going to be about, what characters would we even be introduced to, what corner of the Star Wars universe would this even take place in. But I think not a straight out comedy, but something that has a little more levity to it would be something new for Star Wars, honestly. And I think it's something that could
because the cartoons, the animation has some levity and comedy to it, and obviously you have R2D2, C3PO, BB-8, and stuff like that. But I think you're right. I think that he could bring a certain comedic aspect to Star Wars that we haven't seen before, which I hope works. I do, because I do like Taika Waititi. I think he's a good director and
underrated actor.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, don't forget he was the co-star of the greatest hit 2011's Green Lantern. So
obviously. So but I think introducing new material and new genres into this is something that is a note that they should take from Marvel. Marvel has fully embraced the craziness of the multiverse, the supernatural side of things. So I think Star Wars kind of taking a page from that and kind of introducing new genres into this universe can't hurt it. Obviously, I think with one of the next projects that we'll talk about is Kevin Feige's Star Wars film, which is, listen, if that was ever to get announced, I'm front row in line to see what's going on, because Kevin Feige, like us, is a fan. So,
my worry with that is because I think that, when they announced that Kevin Feige would be working on a Star Wars project, I think that was that was the intention. But I think he's just so damn busy with Marvel. I don't know how he would have the time to do it. Is he right? And we don't know the details. Was he just going to produce it? Was he going to write it? Would it be his first directorial debut? Like, what was it, or what is it that he was going to do with this film? And what was the idea? I maybe it does happen still. Maybe it does. But at this point, I think because we have one more to talk about, out of the 5 projects, I think this is the one that is least likely to happen within those 3.
And that's just due to him overseeing everything that's going on in Marvel right now. Yeah. So I don't blame it. It would be really interesting, and I think just off of name recognition itself, it would garner a lot of interest from different areas in Disney's platform. So I think it would be a very lucrative option for them to do. But I think I'm with you on this one. I think it's the least likely to happen. So
yeah. Now, there's another one that I was doing my research, kind of, just getting that way I would have dates and everything all squared away. And I took a look and I was like, what is this one? And there's a director by the name of J.D. Dillard, who I don't even know who he is. Yeah. But back in February, there were reports that came out that said that J.D. Dillard, who is best known for the film Slate, I don't know. He's working on a feature-length project with the Luke Cage and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. scribe Matt Owens. And then after THR, the Hollywood Reporter, said this, Deadline then came out and said that the movie will be set on the planet of Exegol, which was last seen in The Rise of Skywalker, which was the Sith planet. I had no idea about this at all until I was doing my research here.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I did not even. We were going over the show's notes earlier in the day. I read this and I'm just like, where the hell did this come from? I don't even really remember it being announced. I don't even really remember.
I don't think it's been officially announced, because the Hollywood Reporter, they're trusted, right, and they're the ones that stated. And then Deadline, who's another trusted source, or they came out and they're like, we're looking like it's going to take place in Exegol, which I'm all for. I'm all for them shifting some focus onto the villains and kind of taking a look at their villains a bit more. And I think it could be really interesting. And the fact that they have this much information is out there, I wouldn't be surprised if this is either the first or second on that movie slate, or, release dates to come out. Because, like I said, December 2023 is just a year and a half away, a little more than a year and a half away. Yeah, if they started filming this summer, if it's not a huge project, they could get it done in time. They surely could. But we're seeing production times and projects getting pushed back right now because the VFX studios, they don't have the manpower to keep up. So that's why I'm sitting here thinking like, what project could get done? There's, as far as we know, nothing is filming right now.
And it would
So
it would be so awesome if they were just to drop something on May 4th in terms of just like a trailer for like what's coming out in 2023. Obviously that is like less than 1% happening, but
I mean, let's not forget that we have Star Wars Celebration kicking off on May 26th.
Okay.
So that's going to be an entire weekend full of Star Wars Celebration and announcements and everything like that. I think then is when we're going to know they are going to announce the next Star Wars movie is this.
Blank. Yep.
I think that is when we're going to get that announcement. Whether they keep that December 2023 date or maybe they push it back to May 2024 or whatever, I think that's what we're going to get information-wise at Star Wars Celebration. But again, it's really crazy to think that, you know, they have these dates set and there's as far as we know, nothing is in pre-production. It's nuts. And that's not to say that they aren't doing stuff, because take a look at Disney Plus. You know, Disney Plus, we got Obi-Wan Kenobi coming out at the end of May, which I'm hearing that May 4th, we're going to get a full trailer for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. They are going to release a full trailer from what I'm hearing. So on May 4th, we get a full trailer to finally get us hyped, like fully hyped for that show, to give us an idea of what it's going to be about. That's great. But at that point in time, we don't have, we have an idea of when things are coming out. You know, there's rumor that Andor is going to come out in the summer, so that could be June to August. Bad Batch is supposed to come out in July. Bad Batch Season 2 is July. Then we have The Mandalorian Season 3, which I've also heard could be summer. So if they do Andor early summer, then that would be Mandalorian late summer. And then we have the following year, we got Ahsoka. We have the Lando series, which I'm looking forward to, especially if Donald Glover's back at,
100%. Yep.
In the role. And then we got the Acolyte, which has just recently started its production. So we have a lot of projects that are going on and about to come out, but it's all going to Disney Plus.
Yep.
We also have a droid story, which I couldn't care less about, but it's all going to Disney Plus. And look, I love Star Wars, and just keep giving me content. I'm going to eat up Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm going to eat up the Bad Batch season. I'm going to eat it all up. But to me, Star Wars is a theatrical experience.
Yeah,
we need those theatrical
110%. Yep. I'm looking forward to the Andor series. I'm looking forward to the Ahsoka series. I'm also looking forward to the Mandalorian Season 3. Obviously, a lot of storylines need to get followed up in a bunch of those shows. My personal favorite is going to be Obi-Wan. I just love the character from the prequel series. I just love Ewan McGregor's iteration of the character. I think that's quite literally going to be his life role, and I honestly just can't wait to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of these other projects are a little more on the lesser known side. Like the droid one was something that I tried to do a little more research on before I popped up with you about 10 minutes before the show started, and personally speaking, it depends on what the story would be about, but I think it'd be something that'd be interesting, honestly. It'd be an interesting dynamic switch to go from always human leads to, a droid lead, which should be, I don't know, I think I forgot the droid's name is escaping me from Rogue One, but if something was like a comedy show like that, that'd be hilarious to me. So it'd be interesting.
K2?
Yeah, I think so. I'm relying on you for that one. So,
the one that I am a little upset about is Rangers of the New Republic. I was actually really looking forward to that show. That was going to be the one that was led by Gina Carano, and then we know what happened there, which
with everything,
completely against the way they handled that. But that's besides the point. So I'm kind of upset. I wish they would find a way to kind of figure out a way to get that to come out. Maybe they will at some point. But we got Ahsoka still, which I'm really looking forward to. I love the Ahsoka character. I can't
110%.
believe how much I fell in love with that character over the years of watching Clone Wars, then Rebels, and then The Mandalorian, and so on. And yeah, I think that they've got. Oh, I've also heard that they're doing a second season of Visions, also, which I thought Visions was really cool. But we've got a lot coming. It's just really going to be interesting on how they handle it. And I think the biggest thing is fan reception, because the sequel trilogy divided the fans more than I've ever seen them divided before. And I think Obi-Wan is kind of a great step in the right direction, because the Mandalorian
kind of like an I'm sorry, let's give you a fan. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, The Mandalorian did a good job in bridging the prequel fans with the original trilogy fans, but it hasn't quite grasped and got a hold of the sequel trilogy fans yet. And I don't think Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to do that either. But I think it's what they're trying to do at this point is they're really going to try and like, okay, let's get these fans that have been fans since 1977. Let's get them back into this and say, let's put the sequel trilogy behind us and move forward. I kind of think that's the way they're going to move with this. And
which is smart.
I'm not saying they're erasing the sequel trilogy, but because take a look, Rogue Squadron, that's going to take place. That's going to be, the aftermath of what happened in the sequels. So yeah, I think this is just a way to get those people who didn't like the sequels back into it, because you take a look, even Ahsoka, Andor, that is, Rogue One is a huge fan favorite film. Lando, all these projects that are coming, they are all separate from they're disconnected from the sequel trilogy almost completely.
Yep.
The Acolyte takes place before the prequels did. So a lot of this stuff is like, look, we're gonna get the fans of the Old Republic in with the Acolyte. We're going to get the prequel trilogy fans in with Kenobi. We're going to get the original trilogy fans in with Andor. I mean, they've got to figure it out on how to do this. And I think this is, while it's been crickets, it has been crickets. I think they're doing right now by the way they're handling the franchise.
Spinning off of popular franchises is obviously the formula to keeping your fans. So I think with the projects that are coming up with fan favorite characters, they're doing it the right way. But I really want to know what their theatrical plans will be. So whether it's far, far away in the past or far, far away in the future, I think that's something that they have to consider just to separate themselves from what happened. So like you said, I've never really seen a fan base more divided after a set of movies than these past 3 movies that just came out. So they definitely have a lot of repairing to do, but I think they are taking steps in the right direction for some of the future projects that they have on hand.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. Let us know in the comments what you think of Star Wars. I'm excited to see what's coming from this franchise. Let's get the stink of the sequel trilogy away from us and go from there. And don't get me wrong, I want to see them continue Rey's story, Finn's story, Poe's story. I do want to see them continue their storylines. But I think let's kind of get away from that for a little bit. Let's dive in. Let's go back a little bit and let's see where everything takes us. And what happens to Grogu? Why isn't he in the sequel trilogy? Let's find that out.
I think me personally, if I'm Kathleen Kennedy, I think I'm going to be doing the next trilogy set in the past in terms of setting it in the glory of the Jedi. So that's personally what I would do.
They don't need to do a trilogy. They could do a whole bunch of just single movies that are set in the Star Wars universe for the next 10 years, and I would be happy with that. And even if they wanted to continue the Rey story, they could do 1 movie, and that's it. They could do 2 movies, and that's it. They could do 10. I don't care. But, just make a good story. I don't want them to think that they're beholden to, well, we got to make a trilogy. We got to make a trilogy, because that's where you get into the issues that we got in with the sequel trilogy. Just make a good movie. If you're able to do a sequel off of it, go for it. If not, move on to the next thing. That's all they have to do.
Bottom line, as a Star Wars fan, give me more Liam Neeson's Qui-Gon and give me a lot more of Hayden Christensen's prime Darth Vader.
Did you hear about Liam Neeson's comments?
Yes, He's a little above Disney Plus. He is only a cinematic and theatrical sort of actor, which I actually really like. Kind of an old school way of thinking, but I actually kind of agree with in a way. There are just some characters that deserve cinematic treatment versus, I guess, smaller screen treatment. But
let's just say I am over 99% sure he's going to be in the Obi-Wan show. He's pulling in Andrew Garfield right now. So.
I could totally see it, and I welcome it completely. I think one of those characters that we would love a follow-up on, and maybe one day in the future we will get it. So gotta stay tuned and find out with Lucasfilm over there and Kathleen Kennedy's future plans.
All right.